Everybody, it is September 10th, 11:30 in the morning. Let's go ahead and open our meeting and we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. I gotta come up with a new saying.
Then we'll miss that.
Yay, Patriots!
Good morning, everybody. All right. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify the chair at this time. Okay.
The cameras are on.
There are several volunteer opportunities at the Council on Aging, including but not limited to Meals on Wheels, volunteer help at the cafe, volunteers needed with computer skills, and senior techs write-off volunteer opportunities. If you are interested in any of these or would like to volunteer in general, please reach out to the director. The email address for our advisory board is coa-ab@kingstonma.gov. And there has not been any emails. I've been monitoring that. And it does not. I'm going to officially ask, is anyone here for open forum? And we'll move on. All right. We have two sets of meeting minutes to review and approve. We have June. Everybody should have June and August in their packets. Does anybody have any questions with either of them? No? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? We'll do them individually. Anyone want to make a motion to approve June?
I'll make a motion to approve June.
Thank you, Maureen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. And we'll do the same with August.
I'll make a motion to approve August minutes.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Super easy. Okay. I put this at the top of the calendar of the schedule because I know it was pretty important, but I saw you have it on yours too.
Yeah.
So would you prefer to wait and do it when we do?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever
right.
you'd like to do.
So we all have the building usage agreement with the red line version, which are the requested, suggested revisions. And the conversation is officially open for conversation. Does anybody have any questions about some of the, would anyone like to start,
If I may,
please?
just by way of background for the changes that you see here. This document was initially created when the senior center was built. It's interesting because at the time that they dedicated the building, there was an article that appeared in the local newspaper indicating that if you wanted to use the building, that a rental agreement was in the works and to please contact the senior center director and if you wanted to rent the building. I basically, when I went over this and I did with a fine tooth comb, there was you can see when you look at the wording that I got rid of, that it reflected those 13 years ago kind of an approach to renting the building. By way of the building being used, it's used a lot by fire department. It's used by the police department. They just had RAD training that went on for 4 or 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. That's women's self-defense training. Fire department's using it coming up at the end of the month for training for lieutenants. They're going to be using it on 2 different Saturdays. On the outside, we have the Democratic Town Committee use it back in May. The Republican Town Committee has now asked to use it sometime coming up in October or November, if I'm not mistaken. The difference between those two entities, the town side, is that they don't pay for the use of the building, while the Democratic Republican Town Committee would be paying for the use of the building. in the past, we have given, for example, the craft fair that's normally held here in December, it's not going to be held here this year. I believe they have a different venue. But as a courtesy, we never charged them for the use of the building for that. So, but I know that there's somebody here that has used this building for a wedding, if I'm not mistaken, years ago.
Yes, it was, yeah.
They had showers,
They had bridal
they
shower.
had everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Girl
Girl
Scouts.
Scouts,
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
stuff. I'm curious why the change from calling it the COA or Council on Aging to the Senior Center building? Or
Because it is
swapping them?
because it's the senior center. It's not the COA building. It is the senior center.
Sure, no, I know, I'm just, in other
And-
communication,
well,
we've
that's
just called
right.
everything else Council on Aging, so I was
Well,
just,
so, and
for
everybody
the
does the
difference.
same thing, even the town hall. They go, yeah, over at the COA, and they point to this building.
sure,
It's, the COA connotes a department.
okay. Well, and that's what the difference I was looking for.
Yes, the COA, the Council on Aging, is the advisory board. It's a department who live and breathe and function within the senior center. Otherwise, we'd be at the townhouse and still be a department without a senior center.
I got you.
So that's why that was just one of those cleanup things that I wanted to take care of when I went through this.
Okay.
On the request for usage of the building, does that come to the board for discussion, or is it an issue that you will make the decision on?
It's just an application that they fill out.
And would we be privy to any of that information? You know, would we have input into whether it would be okay for them to use or not use?
No, we can't deny somebody if they are going to be using it. If you read through this, you're gonna see what allows somebody to be able to use the building. So if they come in, I mean, the general perception is, of course, just about anybody can use the building for whatever purposes they need. But say if they don't clean up, if they say they make a reservation, but they don't show up. There's a thing in here that says, I'm sorry, but we now hold the right to say, you can't come back.
You know,
Or give them a warning, I think is how we put
so
it.
basically would fall on your shoulders only. It would never come to us if there was a big problem.
If there was, okay, so help me a little bit on this. So if you were to think of what a big problem would be, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking probably some destructive behavior, something gets broken
Oh,
or whatever.
the director would absolutely be bringing that back to you after the fact to let you know that there was a circumstance that happened with the building. You need to know about those kind of things.
Sure.
That's in the course of my regular updates and that kind of thing.
They've also at one point had alcohol here. If they got a certain.
You can do that
Yes,
still,
yes.
absolutely.
One
You
day
do,
before.
you do, however, have to
Yeah,
pay for
permit.
the, you have to pay for the alcohol
Yeah.
permit. You do have to pay for the detail. For
Right.
4 hours, it's a
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
So if you
Okay.
wanted to hold something, for example, I had thought for a long, long time of doing something like a Taste of Kingston here.
Oh, I'd love to taste it.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it
Is
is?
it wine or food?
No, it's
both.
usually, well, yeah, it's
It's
both.
both.
It's bringing in Kingston restaurants.
Yeah, no, it is a fun night and it can be a fundraiser. So, so it's just a way to,
Because you gotta realize that this place was used, this
Yes,
center was
exactly,
used,
yeah.
and it got stopped when we had the
COVID.
COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the things
Oh, I
changed after
remember
COVID, but
the
before
wedding
COVID, this
stuff.
place was always,
Right.
in fact, the library used to have their book, what do you call it? That
The author series.
Yeah.
used to
Yeah,
be-
the author series. there and
But
everything.
keep in mind, there's a difference here. You can't use the kitchen. You can't. The kitchen's off limits. There's only certain things that you can use, and you'll see if you read through this, that those are the things that you can use. So you can use the microwave, you can use the kitchen sink,
Yeah.
you can use the coffee pot, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not allowed to go into the
So
kitchen.
if you did the Taste of Kingston, that could not be.
That's a catered event. So
Yeah,
it would
and
be
we've had
people,
catered events
yeah, people are not in the
Mhm.
kitchen cooking. The restaurants would be bringing their food in. And that would also
Do
be
you
a
remember
permit
that?
that you need to pull through the Board of Health.
Mhm.
It's a 1-day food event.
They'd probably be using the tables, the heated
Yeah,
tables.
they do. That's
and
what
stuff
they-
like that.
because
Yeah,
we
they
had
bring in
them-
their own, yeah.
Because we had the, what do you call it, the
I have
East
some
Grill,
questions,
shower,
um,
yeah.
as I went through the agreement, if instead of jumping around, I was wondering if we could maybe start.
Okay.
No questions on the first page specifically. The fees all seem reasonable to me. The second paragraph on the second page, it just talks about who staffs or my question is, who staffs the events from the COA or in general? I just did, it says cancellations are due, by a certain time, due to staff scheduling, and it just made me think, oh,
No, but the meaning
Who
they
is
have
here?
to, no one's here from the
Gotcha.
council on aging.
no one.
When we say cancellations, it means you're gonna have to cancel between Monday and Friday,
Mhm,
8:30 to 4:30.
Sure.
Because,
how does
because
that-
that's when we're here.
And the cancellations is not the nature of my question ultimately. It just made me think, okay, so as part of the, I didn't see something in here that indicated like how people, when they filled out the application and they're granted use of the space, if no one from the COA is here, how does it work now where they get in, get out? How does that all work now?
So the same way that it works with anybody using the building right now. They come in and, for example, the RAD group that just did the women's self-defense, they came in that day, they took the key. It started at 5 o'clock
Mhm.
on Monday. So we all left at 4:30. The building was still open, but we walked the lieutenants through the process to lock the building up and set the alarm at the end of the day.
Sure.
Anybody that uses this building for whatever purpose, and they do,
Mhm.
the arbors at,
Harbor Hills.
thank you, they use this building for
Sure.
meetings, and when someone wants to, there's one person always in charge of the building.
Of that group,
Of that group.
of the renting group, right?
Absolutely. No, this is not a group effort. The last time it went to a group effort here, at one point, a whole bunch of people came in and they were doing stuff that they had been told not to do.
Sure.
And so consequently, they blew fuses. The ice all melted because the fuse had been blown. Water was all over the place. It was just a hot mess.
So
And
the-
so one of the things is that, and this is an internal thing, that we determine one person is in charge of the building.
So, and that's fine. I have no problem with the way it works. It just didn't say anything in here, and I'm wondering if it would make sense to add
And
language that
the
says that
application
they're.
says that who's in charge. The
Oh, the
application.
so, okay, so we haven't seen the application, but it
Right.
does say it on it, so,
It says, they actually say who's in charge of the event.
okay.
Yeah.
And does it say on there that they have to get, wording aside, training? Or
Yes, oh, yes.
It's
Oh,
on all
yes.
on- that's all on the
Absolutely.
application.
There's no,
Fine.
yeah, you don't get the
No.
keys unless
we don't?
Holly or I have
We don't
walked
have
you through the opening and closing of. the
As long
building.
as it's addressed. I just wasn't sure if it needed to be here, but if
Yeah.
it's on the, I mean, it makes sense that it's on the application because they're knowing up front what their responsibility is gonna be before they're even granted. So
Right.
that,
So
and it
then-
makes sense that it's there. I just didn't know how the process worked.
Yes.
If they were in the building and there was a problem, say the circuit breakers blew because they had too many electrical outlets, they would know where to go to flip the circuit breakers?
No, they're not allowed to do that.
So who would come? How would they
They would call
remedy that?
mom.
They call mom.
They would.
Mom would have to bail over and come over and like I did with the other circumstance
Yes, mom.
where.
No,
where-
they're joking, saying that
I
Mary-
was
Mary
joking,
Beth
they're
is
joking,
in charge.
calling me
Joking.
mom.
She's in charge. So that's all
So
set
you would
out.
be-
That's
you
all
would
set
be-
out.
Yes, yes. And,
You would
but,
be the
but we're also very specific on when they come in. One of the things we absolutely make certain of is until we can fix the problem where the coffee pot is, you're not allowed to use any of those outlets on that side. All the tables that are along the windows, there's outlets all along that wall, and the tables are there for a reason. That's where you can set up,
Yeah.
that's where you can put your food, that's where you can put your coffee maker, that's where you can do anything. And of course, you have the other table up at the front near the front door. But those other tables are not really meant for your use because it's for the use of the cafe, it's where the coffee pot is, it's where we have storage, it's where the Keurig is.
And those stuff,
So-
that stuff's not gonna be moved for
That
events.
stuff's not
It's just
being
off
moved.
limits.
And
Yes.
that's
Right.
used because that's where you can blow fuses.
Sure.
for
Yeah.
that.
And we
Yeah.
set it up that way
Yeah.
particularly, so.
Yeah.
as I said.
electric will be updated?
I don't know that I have another $13,000 to upgrade a panel.
Hmm.
Yeah, that because the last piece of the electric that I got is being used by our dishwasher in the kitchen. So we have a brand new panel that was put in after the kitchen was done, but the last piece that was left on that panel got taken by the dishwasher, because it's a commercial dishwasher.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So you have no
So
opening.
that-
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, if that stuff is off limits for rental agreements anyway,
The coffee maker isn't, but we
Okay.
show them how to use the coffee maker.
okay, they just
Okay.
can't use the rest of the plugs because. there's
Because of,
plugs other
yes,
places.
yes.
They can't use anything in the kitchen,
They can use, they can use the
This-
sink
the sink.
and the microwave. And what we do is when we have events,
Well, this is.
the microwaves come out.
Isn't this what the Board of Health is saying as far as the kitchen goes, or is this what?
we are a restaurant level kitchen.
Okay.
So like any commercial kitchen, you can't just have somebody blind walking into your kitchen. Like, for example, I'll take the guy at the end of the street that does the breakfast. He's not gonna let anybody walk into his kitchen because his license is on the line for what happens in his kitchen. And in order for that to happen, you also have to be designated as a catering
Okay,
kitchen.
yeah.
We are not a catering kitchen. We are a commercial kitchen that cooks for the purposes of serving food here at the senior center. So,
You're
yeah.
not cooking to take out.
Right, because the insurance policy and the license changes if that's what you have to do in terms of the catering license.
I just want to go back to being in order, just so we're not jumping around.
Yep.
The next couple of paragraphs in red are crossed out. And so my question in relation to that is, it's outside groups that want to have meetings in here during the day. Is what I understand those paragraphs to be. And I know there've historically been a few groups, or is that being eliminated altogether?
The building from the very beginning, if you look at, well, I've seen the other documents, this building was never meant, if you look at the front page. And if you look at C down at the bottom, all other organizations and private functions, it says specifically, weekends, Saturdays, during the week after regularly scheduled hours.
Sure.
Okay, so that means this building functions from 8:30 to 4:30 as a council on aging.
Mhm.
So no, we're not looking to have a function for a shower going on in the middle
No,
of our activities.
Right, no, this was specific to meetings. This is,
You can't discriminate on what the activity is. If you let in a shower, if you let in another meeting, you've got to let the shower in at the same time that you're letting someone else in. You've opened a door and you don't want to open that door up because as it is, space is at a premium in this building.
Mhm.
And we need every square foot that we can get right now. So I'm happy to be able to allow the building to be used by anybody that wants it after 4:31, come on down. But
Okay.
during the day, the feeling is, and after talking with my staff about this, everybody is in agreement that this building is our building during the day and we want to keep it that way.
are there any meetings that are currently scheduled that will be impacted by removing that language? Like
No,
currently,
No.
anybody on the schedule that's currently asked for meeting
There-
space?
anyone that has asked for meeting space has been granted that meeting space.
Okay.
And there's only one group that has.
The last paragraph, I have a note. So let me just read it again so I can go back to figuring out
What
why.
page are you on?
The same page, the last paragraph. Oh, groups who fail. So I wrote, my question was, what does this mean? And so cancellations of the room reservation are expected at least 7 days before the scheduled date.
And
The next
reason I-
line, the
and I
next line
crossed
is
off
to
the-
be crossed off, and then it says
Right.
groups who fail to notify the Council on Aging regarding cancellation will receive a warning. I mean, if they don't, I guess I'm confused. So is that simply mean if they cancel, but you never got an advance notice of the cancellation? It
Meaning
was
if
confusing
they
to
just
me.
never showed up, they made a reservation
Mhm.
and they never told us that they were canceling their event.
Okay,
We need to
that's
know
what that
those
means.
things. Yeah.
Sure, okay,
Do you return a deposit if they've made a deposit?
I wouldn't.
not in
I
that
do-
case.
Not in that case, I wouldn't, but
I wouldn't in that case.
but deposits, we have refunded
But if
deposits.
you read it, she's given refunds for anybody who doesn't do it 7 days prior.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but then my next question is, they haven't given a deposit, haven't shown up, do you charge them anyway?
They're gonna give a deposit. they have to give a
They gotta
deposit.
give a deposit, so, but they shouldn't get their deposit back.
No,
They-
I understand.
So,
Yeah,
and
I
the
agree.
Democrats got it's a $50 deposit. So I kept the check until after the event, and then I mailed the check back to the Democratic Town Committee.
Because if you see,
Yeah.
you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and so when the Republicans do the same thing and they fill out the application, the same thing will happen
Yeah.
with them.
Oh, well, so I don't think so. So Mary just had to know, you can ask the question.
No, you can.
So she was just commenting about where it says Council on Aging, should it say Senior Center? But no, speaking back to Mary, I'm gonna answer that question myself. Speaking back to Mary Beth's point, the Council on Aging is the group, the people. Think of it that way. The Council on Aging is the people.
Okay.
The building is the senior center. That's the distinction. So where you're still seeing the wording, Council on Aging, that's groups who fail to notify the Council on Aging. That would be groups who fail to notify the people.
Us.
Think of it that way. So, because you're right, it bounces back and forth a little bit. So I think that would be the better way in our minds to remember when we're talking about notifying a person, a group, that's when it's gonna say COA or Council on Aging. When it's happening in a place or it's referencing to the building, that's when we're gonna see the terminology, senior center. If that makes, I think that helps with the distinction. Because as Mary Beth said, the COA isn't the building, it's the group, it's the people.
Right, it's
So
the department.
It's the department.
If you just remember, the Council on Aging is a department of the Town of Kingston.
Okay, so I did have Mark, but notes.
Still on page 2.
I'm now flipped to 3.
Page 3,
Yeah, so
thank you.
actually, let me cross this out. No, that doesn't matter.
Still,
Okay,
are we at that liabilities or?
so we are, we're at the top, kind of the
Record
first
code of
group, the first
conduct page.
grouping of page 3.
Second failure to notify, is that the one?
Let's
Is
see,
that the page we're on?
that's the page. It starts with
Yeah.
second failure to
Yeah,
notify.
it's just-
I mean, it's funny, that sentence, now that I understand the purpose of the first sentence, that sentence almost doesn't make sense to me either, because, or does that just mean, if
They're just not gonna be allowed to come back. You're gonna get a warning the first time if
Sure,
you don't
if
show
they
up.
don't show up, if they
And-
sign up again
And if you sign up again.
and they
you
still
do
don't
it
show up.
again, You're just not gonna
they'll-
get to come back at all. That's what we're saying there.
You're not gonna get your money back.
Well, no, but I also, when I looked at this, I said they'll have the opportunity to meet with the director. Or whoever I said director, but honestly, if they wanted to ask to come into the Council on Aging and discuss it with you guys, who's to say that discussion can't be held? If they feel that if they feel that it was incorrect how things were handled, let me say it that way.
Okay.
If they weren't happy.
If they weren't happy with the end result of having their hand slapped for not telling us that they're not coming
That
in.
that they were canceling.
There's a presumption that there's responsibility on both sides of the table.
Sure.
here.
Well, and the other thing too is, I mean, in reality, there's tables being set up for them, there's
Yes.
things happening
We are.
based on their
yes.
application and their granting of the usage of the space. And then if they just don't show up, they've wasted people's time, which is why their deposit would not be refundable and all that other stuff.
agree.
Yeah,
So I
no,
mean, I
'cause
get it.
We are
Yeah.
doing that. You'll
I
see
get it.
within here the language that's set up because we asked them how they want the tables. And so what we do is either Holly and I, or we bring in facilities and we set those tables up for
Yeah.
them specifically. We don't have a staff to do this. We just do it.
You
We
just do
just
it,
take
sure.
care of it. Right.
When so on the top, in the third page, the first bullet point that's red, the senior center prohibits affixing items to walls, doors, etc. That is not the nature of my question. I agree with that.
Okay,
But you've crossed out as many kinds of tape will leave marks or peel paint. I don't think that language should be there, but I feel like sometimes people will gloss that over and they're gonna be like, oh, I didn't realize I couldn't put something with Scotch tape up. Even though I know it says it, I know it says affixing items. Personally, for clarity purposes,
yeah,
I think it would be nice if it said, for example, no tape, no stapling, no push
Okay.
pins no things of that nature. I think it would just help,
okay.
to have something like that there.
Yeah.
Because that I think gets more people's attention, especially if they're coming in with decorations,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
And they, they're gonna gloss over that. Okay, I can't affix things to walls or doors. Yeah, fine, okay. But then they come in anyway and they start, but if it says, for example, no this, no this, no this.
If you walk through the building and you see every so often a rip on the wall,
Mm.
it's where something was taped up.
Right.
And we had to remove it and the wall board came down with it.
That's why I just think it would actually be
I'll
good
put,
to
I'll
put,
make the
for
change.
example.
Yep.
I think it's need clarification.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't personally have any other questions except down at the very bottom. Let me read it again to see why I wrote a note here. Oh, so the very last paragraph had read,
I was gonna say.
previously read, the Council on Aging follows the Town of Kingston Code of Conduct and reserves the right to dismiss a participant should they not comply in accordance, blah, blah. But then it now reads, the Council on Aging reserves the right to dismiss a participant who does not comply with the Town of Kingston Code of Conduct.
I'm sorry, that was my error.
Personally, I just didn't see a reason to change the language as it had read.
So because it's not the Town of Kingston Code of Conduct, it's our code of conduct. I'm sorry,
Okay.
that was my mistake.
Okay. So we're just gonna
It's
take
just
out
gonna be, yes.
Kingston and put COA.
Council on Aging Code of Conduct.
They
Yes.
have their own, right?
The town, that town, so what's interesting, there's a distinction. The Code of Conduct for the Council on Aging is for participants that come to this building. That had been what the prior director used for the behavior standard that had to be set, right? The Code of Conduct for the town is for employees. It's employees of the town, so they're two different things.
Yeah. No,
We
makes sense.
expect a lot of the same thing from our employees as well as we do.
But you can't invoke
But you can't invoke
when
one,
it's for employees.
right,
To,
because it's not the
participants.
same level of standard.
okay,
Okay, so I will change that. It's the Council on Aging Code of Conduct and Standards of Behavior.
all right,
My
thank you.
bad.
The next page, as far as limitations and liabilities, I didn't see any issues there, nor, I mean, obviously, the crossouts looks perfectly fine to me.
Senior center, yeah.
Anybody, I mean, at any point in time, if anybody else has any comments, let me know.
Excuse me, what was the last time this was updated? How many years?
Went 13 years ago.
13?
Yeah.
So the next page that starts with the number 11 at the top, under food and beverages. Number 2, the rental rate includes only the use of A, B, and C there. Was that removed because it was repetitive?
I'm sorry, where are you at?
So I'm under food and beverages and number 2 that was crossed out.
Yep.
I'm just asking why that was removed and
Because it's already, I put it
Because
in
it's
another
repetitive.
section, because it was redundant.
yeah, so
Because
that's
it's
what
in
I
another
thought.
section.
My note literally says, was this removed because it's repetitive? So
Right.
yes.
So
Then the
C-
same with the next one down. It's the renter's responsibility to
Right.
see that the room, because that was also listed somewhere else. So
Right.
it's just repetitive again.
So the use of the kitchen facilities for catered events requires a copy of a current food service permit by the caterer and filed with the Board of Health, and they have to pull that one day permit.
Mhm.
I have to add that section. And when I say the kitchen, it's not the kitchen facilities, it's not kitchen facility, it's the use of the facilities, because the kitchen is off limits.
Yep.
Catering doesn't involve cooking.
Mhm.
Catering is food
Everything
prepared
gets brought
off
in.
and being brought in.
Right.
So, yeah,
And then what was previously number 5, that's crossed out, is the renter's responsibility to see that the
because I
room.
put that
It's
in
also
another,
repetitive.
it's in another.
Okay, so those were the
yes.
only questions I had about that. That's it from, I mean, my questions as I read through it. There was a question over here I heard, does it talk about trash? It does, and it says it has to be bagged by the person using the room, and they have to remove it. They have to do
remove
everything.
it. Yep,
The trash.
yes, they
Yep,
do.
nothing's
Yep.
provided for them.
Any
And
place,
in
any
fairness,
place you go, you have to.
That's
you
exactly
have to
right.
Take your own.
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah, I've been to events
Yeah,
where
so,
I've helped with
yeah.
events, like friends would have had
You're
stuff and
charged.
rented like the Knights of Columbus and stuff. I
Knights
mean,
of
it's kind of the same everywhere.
Yeah, Knights
Um,
of Columbus, you have to remove.
Yeah.
it.
Especially, it's because of the cost of trash.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So, yeah.
I mean, that was back in 2004 when I had the Knights of Columbus down here for the party after the funeral. And we had to remove everything. Had to.
Yeah,
We couldn't pin up anything in the walls or,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I
pictures or
understand,
anything had to be on, you know,
Tables
frames, tables
and-
or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does, does this
yeah.
now move on to, approval by the Board of Selectmen, or is this us approving?
you guys,
Yeah, it's just us.
and then,
Just us.
and then it will go to the Board of Selectmen
After
because
we
they
have
need,
approved,
yes.
And then they will review.
Just as we've done in the past with the other policies and procedures.
So what I would suggest, if everyone's okay with it, is, did you want to make a comment? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, so are you going to make the adjustments that we get a new?
Yeah,
that's what I was just gonna
That's
suggest.
what I think she was going to.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, you know, based on our conversation, that there's very little to adjust, but there are a few things.
Yes,
So, I would ask, you know, let's get a clean version for October.
what I
And
would
then-
like to do is get rid of the red lines.
Yes,
Get rid of that.
Yep.
Get rid of the red lines and make the changes. So the changes that you suggested that I'm going to include in there is going to be, I'm changing that over, not the Town of Kingston, it's supposed to be COA Code of Conduct.
Yeah.
And at the top there, for example, no
Yeah.
tape, no staples, no push pins.
yep,
Right.
Okay, and
Yep.
then under food and beverages, it's not the use of the kitchen facilities, it's the use of the building, the facilities itself are catered events. And you do have to pull that 1-day permit from the Board of Health.
Yep.
To do that, okay? Those are the changes I'm gonna be making in and cleaning the document up.
yep.
Excuse me, is there a way that you could attach that application for us to see, or do we need to?
I mean, I looked at the application and it really, it's just a very standard filling out information.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it
This
wouldn't hurt to see it,
essentially,
but
Some of the things they can't do.
like what?
I don't know. Just what we've been talking about. You said it's on the
So-
application. Yeah.
the application won't necessarily be up for debate, but like, sure, I think a
Sure,
copy of it could be helpful
just for
to
knowledge.
eliminate some questions about it. Because where we had questions about this, but they're on there, sure, I think we can make that request to see what the application looks like.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're putting it on for October.
Yeah, so we'll get a clean version before our meeting next month, and then presumably for October, we'll, if all is well, we'll make a vote. Okay.
We could vote now.
Well, we don't have a clean version,
Oh, we
and there's notes that need to be added to it, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Not a problem.
You get-
All right.
Gotta make sure when people come in about this here. No candles.
Oh,
'Cause you
yeah.
know how some of those sterno
Yeah.
things.
the sterno, the sterno,
That's what I
if
meant.
it's only if it's a catered event, because that is an open flame, and so the caterer knows how to use those warming trays.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Are balloons allowed? Mary just asked if balloons allowed, but that's probably a no, right?
That's a no.
Should there, so,
I'll put that in there.
yeah, I was gonna say, maybe there should be a section of,
Up in the.
it got stuck forever
Oh my
probably.
God. It took years.
Oh, gee.
Yes. Every time you,
We couldn't get it down.
but it's not there anymore.
How did we do
No.
that?
I don't know, Rob Cuoco pulled off a miracle and he got that balloon
Wow.
down. I don't ask.
Yeah. I was just so.
I just-
I'm
so
watching a
happy.
mosquito get up there and bit the.
Maybe it finally just came down. That helium lasted forever.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. There was a question about, a recent suspension of a senior. And while that itself is not the topic of the agenda, there was a question about what is the protocol, if any, for that person to return. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'll put my 2 cents in first. Returning is returning, just come back. There is no protocol because there doesn't need to be protocol, is the way I read it and view it. Person can just come back. Is there any
Well,
difference?
there is a method if they were going to take an appeal on it.
Right, but we're
They
not
have to
talking
do
about that.
that, right,
Yeah.
they have to do that within that
Yep.
first 10 days, I think, five,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
days.
so no matter what the process, no matter what the prior process, there's an appeal process, fine, they do their appeal
If they
process.
don't want to
And if
appeal,
they still are, regardless of the outcome of all of that, when and if the person would like to return, if they've waited through whatever they needed to wait through, they are allowed to
come back.
just return.
of course,
There's no formal fanfare that needs to happen. There's no, can I come in?
Yeah.
There's, just come in.
yes.
Should there be no appeal process and they just choose to wait out their normal course, again, they can just come back. There's no,
Okay, now, if the person doesn't know about that they could come.
Well, they're
right
always said with people that
Well,
have,
they-
hang on, the people that have been suspended get a copy of the code of conduct
back. Okay,
and the standards of
Alright.
behavior with that letter.
Oh.
So that, and we have to cite a specific section
okay,
in that code of conduct. And so, and then that the letter that accompanies it also says, if you wish to appeal, please check section such and such.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
yeah, so returning, there's no, nothing formal that needs to happen.
Nope,
Just come on back.
just,
Just come.
The next
Should
item,
we-
go ahead, you have a question? Go ahead.
Should we have been notified about a suspension? About the, should we have as the group been notified?
so my responsibility per that code of conduct is to notify the town's administrator and your chairman of the advisory board. That's the extent of my responsibility in terms of whether Katie wants to send that information out. That's up to her.
Because I was looking through our code of conduct that we accepted last month. And every place I looked, it was
In conjunction.
in
Yeah.
conjunction of the, the board. That's all. I just,
How would you have,
The decision,
that day?
the decision to send a letter is in conjunction with, is that,
just to,
what's your?
just to notify us that there is another suspension sitting there.
Sure, well, and I'll take responsibility for not notifying you guys. That's not on Mary Beth.
No,
The
I just
notification
wanted
piece.
to know. If
In fairness, I was waiting to see if there was going to be an appeal, so I was notified.
Right.
I was waiting to see if there was going to be an appeal. There wasn't. And then I forgot about it.
That's
Okay,
fine.
Well,
So,
I was
there-
just curious why,
that's old age.
well, it's 50.
Sorry.
Yeah,
It's 50 and menopause.
50
No, but
and
in fairness, I'll take that responsibility on myself. That lack of notification to you guys was my responsibility and I didn't send it to you.
What she was supposed to
It's
do.
okay.
oh yeah, I'm
Oh, yeah.
not saying anybody did anything wrong. I'm
We
just
did-
reading
we
our
did
new
get
code
that
of
impression.
conduct that we accepted last month. And have we heard anything from the selectmen? Have
Well,
they-
that's the
That's the
question.
next
So that's the nature, that's a couple, the selectman question's a couple, we'll just go there now. It's
Yeah,
no
but
big
no,
deal.
but anyway,
Well-
if you read it, it says, upon meeting with the petitioner, which we didn't have to because she
She didn't
didn't
appeal.
appeal. But everything says, and the Council on Aging Advisory Board shall vote.
That's
That's all
that has to do
In
with the
conjunction with
appeal.
appealing.
Right, but
So
also.
until an appeal is taken,
Mhm.
the notifying body is the town administrator, who I'm assuming passes it along to the town council. I would think if there was a concern, right?
Depends
And
inside a year,
and
it's
Kate,
not my question.
whoever the chairman is of the advisory board.
Right.
Right? That's where it ends. And I think this code of conduct was written, and we didn't change anything having to do with that piece of it. The piece that we changed, if you recall, was having to do with if someone's been suspended permanently, what are their appeal processes and those, and FYI, the board has put that up for a vote, not at tonight's meeting, but at their next board meeting. Okay, which is going to be held on the 24th.
Correct.
It had some very jammed
number 5,
agendas.
925 is, you said.
So 9/24, 9/24. 9/24. It's also that same meeting is when they're going to be discussing the vote that the advisory board took for the age and dementia friendly initiative.
Oh, so
That
both
you
of those
voted to
together.
support that. They're on that agenda both that night.
The
In
20.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
on the 24th.
Okay,
Okay,
very good, thank you.
yes.
Excuse me, I noticed that if you have questions, is there any way in the next month or two, we can answer any more questions regarding the code of conduct?
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, other than what we voted for, just, there might be a few more questions from what I assume.
There are
On the
no,
whole
I mean,
meeting.
there are no other questions that have been brought forward up to this point.
So,
You've ratified your code of conduct. The changes that were made were for the suspension only. And no other changes have been suggested or brought through the chairperson in order to have a discussion by the
so
advisory
to answer
board.
your question, yes, if someone wants to raise a question, I look similar to how I always handle it, I reach out to everybody and say, if anybody has any questions or topics or things they'd like to discuss on the agenda, let me know.
But
So if someone,
but let me say this,
Yeah.
you've already voted on
Sure.
a change on that. So if you were going to make any changes, you're doing this in piecemeal.
Mhm.
Just do it all at once. If there's something else you wanted to change, that should be done in a timely fashion when you have the document in front of you and you're making a change and there's something else that's there, make that other change.
well, and I think that's the point of the question is, we can't talk about it now because it's not in front of us. We don't have it on our agenda right now.
Correct.
If there are questions or changes that people want to make, then I need to be able to put them on the agenda so we can have that
But you
conversation.
need to know the
So-
specific, it's not just
Oh,
the
yeah.
general, oh, let's
No,
look at this
that's
and just
exactly
what's
it.
wrong
So-
with it.
No, so
But there's a
I would say if
specific
there's a
point to be
very
made.
specific point, if there's a part of the agenda that somebody would like to look at, excuse me, part of the code of conduct that somebody would like to look at and specifically talk about, yes, we can have that conversation.
Right.
Just notify me that you want it on the agenda like I would normally ask you to do. And then we can actually talk about it.
Right, it's
Okay.
just that with this coming up
that
with the
makes
20, the
sense.
meeting on
Yeah.
the 24th,
Sure,
I mean.
sure.
I-
Well, so in fairness, if there's something that somebody wants to discuss, you can notify me afterwards that you want it on next week's agenda, and if we have to put the vote off, then we put the vote off.
And that's all I,
Well, that's why we have a chairperson.
And what has
Right.
been brought to me is that things have been, the way things have happened, people have asked questions now, depending on what's happened recently, that may not have, like, what do you call it? Unprecedented. Precedented.
Well, so these are-
Events.
I don't know, that's
You don't know
so,
what I'm talking
that's so, no,
So
that's
these
so
are questions-
esoteric, I don't know what you mean.
These are questions that
You
we,
know what it.
these are questions that we can talk about, which doesn't have to be talked about now. If there's
No, I
questions.
know.
But with all due respect,
Mhm.
I'd like to just point out, I just gave you a date
Great,
that your code of conduct is again being voted on for the
Sure.
second time.
Mhm.
So I think my feeling is this, let this document be for a while. If you want to make some changes, pick it up in another 6 months down the road. Because there's nothing on that document that you guys had any problem with when you created it, when we took how many months to go through that code of conduct, to be able to make the changes
And
that you
approved
wanted.
unanimously last
Yeah.
month.
Right.
I'm sorry I brought that up, but I just had a question.
okay.
But-
So we can take questions. I'll still take questions after the meeting if they rise to the level of needing to be on the agenda, then we'll talk about whether or not that I should put those on the agenda.
Again,
And if we need to,
but you're
in
doing it
fairness,
after the fact.
I understand that. But in fairness, if it's big, if it's something that's significant enough that it needs to postpone a vote, we'll postpone a vote
But
we'll.
you can't make see, that's the difference. You can't make the designation as to whether it's significant enough. The board has to make
I
the
understand.
designation if it's significant enough.
Sure.
I think.
But in order to be fair and allow the conversation, if somebody wants it on the agenda, I have to I'll most likely allow it to be on the agenda. So I mean, there's no reason to debate it right now. I don't even know at this moment in time if anybody wants anything on the agenda.
I seem to have heard that there's something that's brewing that I don't understand what it is. So I'm trying to get a handle on what it is that you're looking at that you feel is.
So when we get a chance.
So
to
we
review
are
it.
actually
Oh,
discussing the
question.
code of conduct, so you can bring that up. Yeah, I mean, in terms of,
It's all
because we did just talk about it. That's on your agenda. So
Just
you
bring it
can
up
bring it
now.
up.
No, okay.
It's
Why?
on your agenda.
It's on the agenda.
All right, well, if we want to discuss it, we can discuss it.
Speak up now, forever
Well,
hold
so-
your peace.
So we'll repeat the question for me. I'm sorry. Is,
Just I don't know the exact question. That's what we gotta figure out.
Okay,
But to review the code of conduct, again, I know we voted on certain portions of this code of conduct, but there's other areas in it that people have brought to me, whether it be this.
Well, give
board.
us an example. So we know
Well,
what.
we can't
what
discuss it
somebody-
today.
Yes, you
well,
can.
we can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
It's on your agenda.
Yeah, it's
What-
on the
what's on the-
agenda.
It's okay. So what
Oh,
was,
number 5, code of conduct
Yeah.
was final version.
Yeah, so we can speak.
so
Take
what
your
was
glass.
brought up
So
to
we're
me?
going to, we're
Okay.
jumping to number 5.
We already have
Well,
discussed number
it's part
five,
of it,
Mary.
yeah. 4, 3 and
I
5 were together.
understand.
I just asked him the question and.
I'm not gonna move the question at the moment. Okay, we're
Oh, I
gonna,
understand we voted, the select board is, going to review this new addition to the code of conduct.
Mhm.
And then previously, we voted on that line that, before that.
Yep.
But now I'm talking about, I have had questions presented to me
okay,
by our board or by other people questioning the fine print here
sure.
on the different offenses and going from first offense, second offense, third offense.
Like how it works.
And how the direct, it says the Elder Affairs Director, in conjunction with the advisory board, to make that decision on who gets suspended, and are there any specific situations where the director may jump from A to.
It actually, the code of conduct actually says that at the discretion of the director, she may do that.
So,
Yes.
So the paragraph that you're referring to is at the bottom of page 4, notwithstanding the foregoing, the director in conjunction with the Council on Aging Board, it's that language that I think you're questioning.
right.
Director in
So
conjunction.
the question, is the question, should the board try to dispense the first and second offense procedures and immediately proceed? So I can see that there's some ambiguity because it does, it leaves the door open that should it be a group effort between the director and the council on a, in conjunction with, does seem to indicate that there would be,
So here's the difference. You
Yeah.
don't run the senior center.
no, I understand,
I
but
do.
I understand the I understand the point, your
Okay.
point. But I also understand the confusion in the language is my point, is what I'm saying, is what I think you're saying.
Right.
Because the
These are
in
ideas
conjunction,
presented.
the in conjunction with was probably intended to be under the right of appeal, is my guess.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
It's not,
Okay,
but it's
it's
not
gonna be
under the
that,
right, it's
yes.
not in the right area.
Okay,
It's the same thing, but it's in the, yeah.
It's not in the right area.
so,
So,
and that's,
so to answer the possible question that I think is on, kind of floating around is, no, I don't believe, as the board, we don't make a decision in the moment as to whether, if an offense has been occurred, we don't make a decision in the moment as to whether it's a first offense verbal, second offense written, or jumps right to third offense. That is at the discretion of the director.
correct.
So I do think I understand the confusion of the
Right.
paragraph, and this paragraph probably should be either removed or moved. Because it is not, it does not appear to be in the right section, because it's,
Because it has to do with the appeal.
it's more to do with
appeal,
the,
so
exactly,
that's-
it's- it,
Okay.
so
So-
that may clean up the confusion as
Yeah.
to why weren't we notified that an offense happened?
Mhm.
Well, we're not
Well,
supposed,
you are, but you,
no, I
no,
mean,
but you were.
excuse me,
I'm
I'll
not
continue my
following.
thought.
No.
Why were we not an offense happened and before a notice was given? Right, that's, I think, what the nature of part of the confusion is,
That's
and we're, and in fairness, we were never really supposed to be notified
Correct.
because
That's-
it's not at our discretion, it's at
It's at
yours.
my discretion.
We come in, our board comes in at appeal.
And appeal, yes.
So this language,
Last when-
this language does need to be changed.
And keep something in mind. You may be looking at me thinking that this is about how I handle things. But the document is a document that is for all future directors.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter who's sitting in that seat and whether you like them or not like them, or like how they handle it or don't. But that's because at the discretion of the director, they absolutely should have the ability to have someone removed from the building for certain things that occur
Being
that are
disrespectful.
beyond the pale.
Sure, and
and definitely.
and that's, and personalities aside, there's there's no, it's not a personality
It's
issue.
got, the document has nothing to do with
But there is a
personalities, right?
discrepancy, and I appreciate the fact that you pointed out the discrepancy. So I do think that needs to be
It
updated
just has to be.
before 9/24,
Just
appeal
gotta
portion.
change
Yes.
what
so that
Alright.
we
the
get,
appeal is.
does that answer the confusion?
Yes.
Does that answer the
Yes.
confusion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it
it's-
did,
no, it-
yeah.
I did not realize that confusion was there, and I understand the confusion now. I understand it, and
Yes.
it's not in, that language is not in the right place. It needs to be under the appeal section. Okay, so I guess we need to figure out, do we want to do, maybe
Let
a
the-
very quick?
You
vote?
can't, because I
Let
can't
them-
make that change without you guys coming back and.
Well,
and
so what I
just-
was gonna say is,
Bloody-
not today, we can't, but we could consider having a quick
Let me
special
do
meeting
this.
like
Let me do
next week
this.
or something.
So let me do this. Let me reach out to Keith
Mhm.
so that he can take this to the town attorney, who can then tell me if I need to bring it back to you, or if it's just a question of because this is not about authority, it's about semantics.
Right,
So if it's just a question of moving it from the wrong paragraph to the right paragraph, and she says, just go ahead and make that change, that's what I'll do.
then just notify me and
And
then I
just
can send
notify
out
the
email.
board that I
Yeah.
did.
That makes perfect sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Makes sense.
But
Yeah, no, that's fine. I could see where if an offense has happened and
Yeah.
somebody gets a letter and then they
That
read the
was-
code of conduct that's sent to them, they may say, well, why didn't the board notify me? So
Right.
based on this language, so, okay, yeah, just keep us
Thanks.
posted on what the
Yep.
attorney says.
I'll take care.
That
of
works perfectly.
Thanks.
All right,
Okay, awesome.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. All right, so that is gonna go back here now. This is
This is what old days does.
part of this.
Well, I
No,
gotta
it
write
makes
it
sense.
down.
I appreciate the clarification. I appreciate the clarification. Okay. All right, we got a copy of the budget last month.
Mhm.
Did anyone have any questions that I wanted to put it on here simply to give anybody an opportunity to ask questions about it if they had them? I did not personally have any questions. Does anybody
We need
else?
more Money.
I don't
Well,
either.
Sure.
We
Okay.
need more
How
money.
much did the rug cost? The new rug that was put down?
It went under capital improvement, and it was voted at the Springtown meeting by the facilities department. We had tried to get it done a year and a half ago, but all they had was enough money to get the carpet out of here and put the linoleum down.
At the time,
And
yeah.
so facilities kindly brought forward the balance to be able to give us what should have happened a year and a half ago, which is the beautiful rug that you see out in the
I
hall.
love it.
Great.
Me too.
It looks nice with the
Looks
paint,
good.
the wall
It
colors and
does,
everything.
It does, yeah, it's brighter,
Just
it
makes it
makes it
look
look
bigger.
wider,
And
and it's softer,
And it smells better.
it smells better, yeah.
Right, it was a capital improvement thing.
Capital.
Yep, for notes. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Mary Beth, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mo, I appreciate that. So there's a couple different things, starting at the top of the director's report. GATRA is looking to expand transportation services to hospitals in Weymouth and Boston. So if you could please pull up your email that I included from Joanne Moore. Joanne Moore is the director in Duxbury. And she sent me this email recently. And what GATRA's looking to do is to expand services to Weymouth and the Boston hospitals. They formerly had a Boston hospital bus that they used to bring people in. And so Duxbury is going to be able to do this because it's a survey that's on Survey Monkey that I've attached a hard copy there for you guys to take a look at. And what I'd like to do is, our seniors have such a hard time with access to the internet and to try to find it and fill it out and then submit it. What I'd like to do is really just make hard copies, put them outside, let people pick up the survey, fill it out, and then also have it included, if we can do it in a smaller version in the newsletter or in an email blast or in some other fashion or form that they can also fill it in. We don't need a ton of people to respond, but we do need results from the survey that I can pass along to GATRA to let them know that along with Duxbury, we would like to be considered for this additional service.
So
It
that was
fills a
gonna be my,
need for us.
that was gonna be my question. It's
Yeah,
not
it
just that
fills a need.
they're extending
Mm.
services to those towns, it's they're extending services to those towns from our town.
From our town.
From, for Kingston residents, they could now be brought to Weymouth.
Yeah.
And
Right.
South Shore Hospital.
As you can
And
see, it's
Boston,
only
too.
six.
Oh, Weymouth and Boston, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's very simple questions.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
what
but
day
it's-
would you go? How often do you think you would use it? What town do you live in? Do you use the van at the senior center? All of that.
Well,
So,
so this could be handy for people that are, get weekly, get weekly some things, and they
Or
have to,
even have to
whatever it
go
is.
for
So
a
yeah, no, it
test
makes
or
well,
perfect
no,
sense.
our problem is that we don't have the ride here in Kingston.
Yeah.
So that ride is normally the form that the Commonwealth uses to get our seniors down to the Boston hospitals. So as you know, in addition to Atrius, which is now down at Long Pond, and Resnick Road in Plymouth, we're now, people are calling us wanting to know, can we get them to Weymouth?
Sure.
We can't. We can't
Before now,
possibly.
the answer was no.
Correct.
After the survey, potentially, hopefully it's yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And Boston, actually more than Weymouth was the Boston. So what we always did was we referred them into Old Colony Elderly Services that has the RSVP program, which is their transportation, medical transportation for seniors that's run by volunteers. So you call and you have to do this well in advance to try to get someone that would volunteer to take you in. Now, the problem with that program that we've seen is that the person calls up, they're waiting for their ride, happened to someone that we know very, well around here. And the person that was supposed to be driving them into Boston for their procedure got sick that morning, so they couldn't drive them in. So there's the hole right there. There is another option that Old Colony also has their, is it Lyft that they have the contract with?
Yeah.
And also
How
there's
do you get?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
also grandparents. Oh, I've got that name.
Oh, go grandparents.
Yeah, go.
I've
grandparents.
talked with the gentleman that started that. I asked the president of the company to give me a call because I wanted to find a way to add a piece to our transportation that would allow us to partner with somebody on a app developed transportation piece that we don't currently have, because we only go to 3 towns essentially with our GATRA vans. We go to Plymouth, we go to Kingston, we go to Duxbury. We can't manage beyond those 3 portals because we go all the way down as far as Long Pond. And right now with the traffic and the problems that you see with what's happening with the water main up by Cancun, it's causing all kinds of problems with getting people back and forth. And then we go as far up as, think of Kingston on the other end, up by Silver Lake and Wingate. Again, it's a haul to go from there down to Long Pond.
Mm.
So we're trying to look at other possibilities. I never heard back from the gentleman from Go Grandparent, but I think it's a great app for somebody to use. But you have to be very comfortable with using your smartphone and having that app and knowing how to use it.
So what's the best way, just to keep us on topic, what's the best way to deploy this? Is it just
I'm
having
gonna, what I want to do is I want to let you guys know I'm going to make hard copies of this survey and I'm going to put it out in the lobby and then have on the next email blast, have,
And each group, too,
Holly-
like I could pass them out to my group.
exactly.
you
Well,
know,
there's
for people that use
things-
GATRA or whatever, or have
Yeah,
an
'cause this is
interest?
because this is our own transportation service. This
Mhm.
is GATRA.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is.
Would
close
they
to us.
provide another bus for us?
That's what it is.
Okay.
It's no, we're not gonna get a third bus. This is a
Well-
whole separate, in other words,
It's a separate arm of GATRA,
right, so
probably.
say they wanted, what they would try to do would be, say they've got people, and that's the question here. So what day of the week you want the bus available to go to Weymouth? So if you got a lot of people that are saying,
Tuesday.
or Wednesday, that's when the van's gonna go in to Weymouth.
I want Tuesday.
I want it Wednesday.
Will there be a special, well, we don't know that.
We don't know.
We don't know. All I want to do is,
Discuss
I
if we
just
need
want
it.
I want
Right now-
participation in the survey.
Right now, Mary Beth just wants to gauge interest,
It's
Yeah,
a good idea.
yeah.
wants to
Yes.
gauge interest,
Yes.
and presumably the interest will be high, and then it will be up to GATRA to figure out how they deploy it.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, and it's also, so it's Weymouth, And then as you see, number 6 is, would you be interested in transportation services to Boston?
Boston.
These are
Yeah.
easy questions. And again, what day do you want to go in to Boston? She wants Tuesday, I want Wednesday. So same thing.
Yeah.
So
And if it
again,
happens to be every day, then mark every day.
And
And then
mark
it's
it
up to
every day.
GATRA to figure this out.
exactly.
We're-
This is,
The
this is
purpose
not
of this is just to
us.
gauge interest.
Just
Right.
to see who.
Friday
Yeah,
is a
sounds like a good
dead
idea.
day to go to Boston.
Before COVID, in March,
Don't go
we had
Friday.
this kind of program.
To
Great.
Boston.
Yeah,
It was-
this is, this is finally, they're coming back around to doing the things that they used to do before COVID
Yes,
happened.
thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, because
Yep.
as
And
you,
we used to have a volunteer that would take people to, Weymouth in Boston.
yeah, yeah, volunteer programs are, yeah, difficult in multiple
That's a great
ways.
idea.
Yeah.
It really
COVID
is.
really put a damper on a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
we've got
And then through
Boston.
GATRA, Old Colony would receive a grant also, a separate program where we would call them and they would book trips to Boston.
My understanding is, after talking to Joanne, this program is gonna be straight into GATRA. They're getting the federal dollars for
Yeah, it's up
this.
to them to do it.
So it's up to them. That was this opportunity that Joanne was talking about at the GATRA meeting at that week and when she sent it out to me.
Great.
So, yeah, no, I was
Great.
really
Good idea,
happy.
Good idea.
I love
Great
what having when my communities around me have that conversation. And I wouldn't have had it, Patty would have had it because Patty Wakovich, our transportation coordinator, is on the GATRA board, but she's on family leave right now.
Mhm.
So I really was appreciative that Joanne was able to get this back to us.
That's
So,
awesome.
okay.
Okay.
And again, another survey coming up is this, the Beth Israel Deaconess Needs Assessment Focus Group. Now, I know this seems like it's a little, it's different, but it really isn't. This, Beth Israel is, this group run by Karen Peterson is call it the foundation arm of Beth Israel Deaconess. Remember last month when we had the meeting and we brought, Old Colony Planning Council in, and I said I was missing somebody. The person that was missing that was supposed to be here that day that couldn't make it is Karen Peterson. She's the person that runs this foundation, and her money is coming from federal grants. So her needs assessment, like our needs assessment that we're doing for age and dementia friendly, is very similar. If you look through this survey, you're going to, you enter your zip code, where I live, do I live and work in this community? And you answer these questions, agree, disagree, I don't know, whatever. But this allows them to ascertain what their level of engagement and where their dollars should be spent. And those dollars come to us. Because, for example, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, before we made application for the compact grant, Karen was the one that said to me, I'm going to get you the money that you need for this needs assessment. So her funding opens up for her grants at the beginning of October. She still stands ready to help us out should we find we have a shortfall somewhere and we need those dollars. So this is truly a case of them helping us to get what we need. So we are returning the favor by giving them information and their needs assessment filled and what they're planning on doing. If you look at the email that I've attached, I'm waiting to hear from Madison McLean, who's doing the focus group, that we can schedule for a time here at the senior center, and they will bring in food, they'll bring in beverages, and we will have the discussion about this needs assessment and filling it out and getting people to do it.
Filling it out in the moment.
Yes.
It's not the kind of thing we have to hand out and wait for people to
Right,
fill out.
and I do have, you all have it. I expect to get my needs assessment back from each one of you sometime in the next week. So please fill it out.
We have
Oh,
homework.
okay.
You have homework.
There's a copy of so this needs assessment is not to be confused with the needs assessment we've been talking about.
Oh,
The
my
dementia, age and
daughter
dementia.
was gonna be
But there's a
so
copy of
happy.
it. So what you're looking at right there, that's one of the pages of the assessment. So if I'm understanding Mary Beth correctly, once she gets in touch with Matt, one of the women running this, they'll advertise and have a group meeting
Here,
open to anybody for here, to go over this and ask these questions live. You know, ask these questions and get answers from the group live.
discussing it, why are we doing it? Why are you asking this question? What do
Yep.
you mean? What do you want here?
Yep.
Those
And,
kind
and
of
maybe
things.
presumably even having these for them.
That's-
I mean,
That's
I would
what,
assume that
it's
that's.
that's
they
the
have the
whole
whole
purpose
thing.
of the focus.
So she
group,
just gave us
yes.
a copy of what it is.
And that's your homework.
In advance.
I want you to fill, I want you to fill
You
out
have
the
to
needs
fill out
assessment
the
and get it back.
As participants.
Yeah, and
of
give them
that.
back to me, please.
That's fine.
You do. Yes, you do.
So that's good. I'm just trying to keep us moving along.
Yep, okay, so,
Um,
yeah,
As
okay,
am I.
so, okay, all right, I'm coming. I'm working to bring a counselor to the senior center to do mass health applications. That's gonna be a massive move for us here as well. Somebody that's out of the Quincy office. The only concern that I have is that because we deal with age 60 and older, I need to make sure they understand that distinction, that we're going to be helping our seniors that need help with reapplications to Mass Health for whatever piece it is, and also to apply for Mass Health for the full Mass Health benefits.
Versus, and you're making that distinction because I'm
Because
assuming
we
there must be
don't
other
do it.
people.
We don't, well, we
Well, we
can't
don't do
help.
it, but, okay.
No, and it's
So if there
expensive
happened
to
to
have
be a
it done.
Kingston person that was 40 but needs services, they're not coming here for that.
They would have to go elsewhere
Gotcha.
for
They have
that.
to
Okay.
go to the.
They would
Yeah.
have to go, they would have to go to the Mass Health office, Quincy office or whatever.
Is there-
Our mandate is always and will continue to be for anyone age 60 and
Is
older.
there a fee for that?
No, this will be no. fee.
And nothing's set up as far as when that's happening.
We are, I'm waiting to hear
Working on it.
back from the counselor because the issue of the age 60, she has to clear that with the powers that be there. Don't think it's gonna be a problem. She didn't feel, but of course she has to go through her hoops as well.
Will this be done individually or will it be done?
What
as a group?
I talked to her about, what I foresee happening is having the applications done once a month and having a day set aside where, say, for example, on a Monday, that room is open. So they can have that room and set appointments up all day on Monday.
Mhm.
So they can
Appointment
do
by
it.
appointment.
Yep, by
Potentially,
appointment.
yeah, it sounds like that's.
I'm
okay.
excited. This is a huge piece.
I'm
for us.
very excited.
Yeah, no, I know. There's a lot of people because we get people coming in, fill out my reapplication. I'm sorry, we can't. We're just, this is not our bailiwick. We don't do this for people. As a matter of fact,
It's a service we'd like to provide,
it's
but
a
we can't
service
take
we'd
it on
like to
yourself.
provide, but I'm not knowledgeable in
Right.
this. I mean, the Mass Health people are. That's why
Yeah.
this was such a, I think it's such a great
I get them every
collaboration.
year That I have to fill out.
Yeah, well,
Every year I had to renew my.
yep.
And there are people that are unable to fill out their applications and end up losing everything, so.
Well, so that's why it's good to have
Yeah.
an
Yes.
opportunity for them to come here.
Yes, yes.
All right, to
I'm-
be continued then.
Yes, to be continued.
Okay,
Compact grant application has been submitted and I'm gonna just tell you right now, I'm on the precipice of saying that it looks very good for us.
great.
So, and I put in for the full $35,000.
Ooh.
All right,
Okay.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. The
So
chef
do you have a
grant,
time frame that you may hear?
Keith is my nose man on this, so I need to just,
Keith,
he lets me
Get
know.
with it.
He's the one that
That's
He's
the
the
communicating.
contact, yes. Chef Grant Award, I'm really proud of this. This is from, you'll see a letter from Lori Gilman. Lori is the chef grant manager. Chef is the, oh my lord, you're gonna ask me what the chef stands for.
What's the chef stand for?
I don't know, but it has to do with
It has to do with cooking food, I'm guessing.
food equity.
Uh.
Food insecurity and food equity. And our application for $5,800, we were given a grant for $5,800 because our cafe, they've never seen anything like this before because everything's done at cost. And so it's providing a service. Now, we can't use the money by food, can't use the money for people.
Oh, you can't?
No,
Oh, I don't like it.
I know.
So let's
So,
find out what it's about.
but our gas stove, if you were around a week ago, is in severe need of replacement. And I knew that before. And it's not being used because of the problem that we have with the gas grills on the top. So the chef grant for the $5,800 is going to be for a cooktop. What we're looking to do is eliminate gas, cap the gas, get an electric cooktop, 6 burners, and also add another convection oven under the other convection oven, so that we're taking the place of the two ovens that were
Mhm.
under the gas stove, which, by the
Never
way,
used, never worked.
you never used, but they only took a half sheet, so you couldn't even put in
They're
a
not big enough.
full sheet pan to do cooking on it. So they were useless. That's why they never got used. So I'm currently in the process of speaking with the gentleman that does commercial kitchens, and I'm waiting for a quote on the. Okay, we had the senior rental center agreement discussion. Cafe statistics for August was, and this, by the way, did include the lobster roll, so we served 344 meals for August.
You can come to my kitchen and cook.
That's a great number. It's higher than,
Yeah,
Nobody else.
I think that's higher, right?
It is.
it is.
What's nice about it is we're
Yeah.
getting different people in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's not about, we're still getting a lot of the same people,
No, I
but
know.
what we're seeing is couples
Yeah.
and people that never came into the building before that are coming in to eat at the same.
I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like our last several months have had a 2 in front of them. So that seems like
Yes,
a high
Yeah.
number.
yes, we had 80 people for that lobster roll,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
okay?
We have reached the point where we are nearing the end.
You
I
think?
do not have a report. What do you think?
Katie,
All right. I think we're in good shape. Good conversation, good topics
Katie,
today.
no report here.
Come on, man.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so, oh, that's about, thank you for asking. I'm not aware of any. Do we have any
I'm not.
remembered? Any
Oh,
people that
there
should
is-
need to be
yes,
remembered?
Yes, I was just notified that, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Eric, lost his mother yesterday.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yes, so I'll make sure that we get a card out,
Sure.
to him,
Oh, very sorry to hear that.
yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna call it then, 12:42. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
Exactly.
All right, everybody, all in favor?
I.
Let's get out of here.
Time for
All
lunch.
right, thank you.
I'll go
Thank you.
notify the kitchen you're on your way.
Yes.
Oh, I told you I was gonna be on my way.
What have they got?
Did you really?
I'm having the Salisbury steak with the mashed potato.
Me too.
Yeah.
Gotta go order it.
Yes.
Let me know. I
Yeah.
was rather proud we got that one on there this week.
I know I'm probably a naughty girl, but I didn't know, I forgot about the drink. Is it all right if I bring that into the cafe?
Yeah, but you gotta, see, the difference is, by the way, we're gonna.
I
She's
want
looking
to
at me.
Because, no, I don't want to get.
No, no, no.
I wanna make sure all the daggers are put away.
Yeah, no. From now on, we're not gonna be letting people carrying cups of coffee from the kitchen, from the dining room into here. Okay, well, we don't have cups.
No, we don't have
What
our own,
about-
but if somebody were to bring in their own.
For example,
If they're
you
using
wanna,
their own cover, their